And this is the feeling we share with the organizing committee, and sharing this feeling is also adding to the great confidence that we have in each other. For me, on a personal note, it reminds me of my former coach I had in my athlete's career when it came to big competitions like World Championships or then Olympic Games. Then he would say, before we would leave to the competition, he would say, and now we have been addressing all the problems, and we have been discussing about every problem which could arise during the competition. So be sure now, whatever will happen now in the championships, it cannot be a problem. And this is the mindset with which then you go in such a competition with confidence, and there we are looking forward all together to spectacular Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
Thank you very much, President. Okay, let's go straight to questions. Carlos, I know, just asked, and then we'll go to Graham. We'll try and get around as many as we can. So Carlos first, yeah.
Thank you very much. Carlos Groma from Reuters. Mr. President, a question regarding the 2030-2034 vote tomorrow. Will the French bid for 2030 be put to vote tomorrow, given that there's still the absence of two of the guarantees that are needed? So will there be a vote tomorrow on the 2030 project? Thank you.
There will be a vote on the 2030 project, but it will be a vote being linked with conditions. It will not be an unconditional vote. That's what we always said. Without a firm guarantee, there cannot be an unconditional vote. And since for constitutional reasons, the French government could not yet deliver this formal and firm guarantee, then there will be conditions being linked with this vote.
Okay, I'm going to go to Graham Dunbar from Associated Press there, and then we'll go up to you with the next chat. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bark. Finally, the IOC has jumped in a big way with Saudi Arabia. There's others who've been there quicker. Was there any caution on your part on why it's taken so long to enter into a commercial financial deal with Saudi Arabia? And I think maybe it seemed to take quite a long time before you had a personal meeting with the Crown Prince. Had you had any concerns in the past years about aligning with Olympic values? But also when you saw what happened with golf, was there an element of sort of change or be changed, that you had to go in as a partnership, or the narrative would go off in a different direction?
No, because, you know, we are in a very different situation than, for instance, golf or other sports. We are not in a transactional business. For us, it's about the partnership, but this is not about a transaction of shares or participation in any kind of organizations or businesses. And for us, the sequence was determined by the work of our Esports Commission. We, had no reason there to look for a partnership at a moment when the Olympic Esports Games were not yet created, or where we could be confident that we could create them and propose them to the session. So it was in this sequence where it happened, and then after having been informed by David Lappartien about the great progress they have been making in the Commission, then the window of opportunity opened, and then it was also clear that we could not go to the executive board nor to the session by just saying we are creating Olympic esports games, and then we see what will happen. But that we would have to make a real proposal with some flesh to the bone, which would establish the principles and would ensure a smooth organization. And this was then towards the end of last year when we took their contact then with the Saudi National Olympic Committee.
Okay, yeah, gentleman there was very quick at the beginning, so yeah, and then we'll come two down here and we're going to cross over for a bit, so yeah.
Yeah. In this Olympics, there are at least 105, almost 1% of all the athletes that has served a doping ban. Some years ago, CAS decided that IOC could not ban athletes that previously had served a doping ban, and you were quoted that this was not the end of the discussion. You wanted to take a moral ground on the matter, and you wanted to work towards getting these athletes banned from the Olympics. I haven't seen anything that has changed since then. Is this something you are still working on, or what has changed? And then secondly, I found over 80 athletes from Russia. They are born in Russia that are competing in this Olympics. At least 16 of them has changed their nationality after the war started. Have you done any eligibility checks on these athletes, and what do you think about those numbers?
The second question you may have to repeat after, but let me answer the first one first. This is a legal issue. We have tried twice, and we have lost twice. And then there was no way out of this situation because we were told twice that the WADA code does not allow for it, and that also general legal principles would enforce that somebody who has served a ban cannot be sanctioned for the time after the ban. The second question was with Russian athletes who were born in Russia and are now yeah. Yeah, that's a nationality change. We have at every Olympic Games a number of nationality changes. I'm not aware now of these exact numbers because it's concerning a big number of countries. There, if it's about athletes who have been competing for Russia before and where the 3-year period for change of nationality would have to be respected, what normally can happen only with the approval of the first NOC, the home NOC if you want, and then the next NOC. There the Russian Olympic Committee is suspended, and therefore in these cases the IOC Executive Board replaced this lacking consent of the Russian Olympic Committee with the consent of the IOC Executive Board. Okay. What is the question somehow?
Okay, we're going to go Martin Ziegler, then Rob Harris, and then we're going to come over here for a bit. And there's a lot of questions, so we'll do our best.
Mr. Bach, it's Martin Ziegler from The Times. As things stand, this could be your last Olympics. Are you approaching it in that frame of mind? And I know this is from a British angle, but would you say Sebastian Coe would make a good successor?
I'm concentrated on Paris. Again, this is like an athlete. you go in every competition in the same way, and you want to be successful in this competition, and so I'm doing everything what is making these Olympic Games successful, and about the rest we are talking later.
Okay, let's go to Rob. Rob is there, Rob Harris there, and then we'll come over. Yeah, we'll try and do you 3, 4. Yeah.
Rob Harris from Sky News. Hi, just over here.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm not 2 questions. I'm not sure if you're aware. The first, how concerned are you about the British competitor Charlotte Duzarjan having to pull out of the equestrian because of a welfare issue?
I'm not aware. I'm sorry.
I was just seeing if you were.
Is this something happening today? Or?
Yes, just today, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. You saw me sitting there and a little bit busy with.
And separately, how concerned are you about the security of Israeli athletes with purported threats growing? And is there concern about fake threats, given that you've raised concerns about Russian disinformation? And does that make it harder now at these games assessing the credibility and viability of what is an actual threat?
There are clearly fake threats, and we are living this for months now. That is a very deplorable situation, but we had to face it, and we always have been very transparent about this. It is about threats, it's about defamation, it's about trying to create insecurity among participants, among potential spectators. But so far, we also have to say that these different attempts were not really successful. The people have realized what is going on there with for political propaganda purposes. I could invent another acronym, PPP. Therefore, we will remain vigilant and every such threat is analyzed by the security authorities and is also analyzed by our colleagues in the IOC. So what can you do? We have to live with it, and we have to be vigilant. And with regard to the security of the Israeli athletes, there, we have the full confidence in the French authorities. There, first of all, it's the French authorities who are responsible for security. They're working very meticulously. They're working very professionally. They're working, I think, with 180 other international intelligence services collecting all the information, and so you could say, unfortunately, almost all the world, with the very few exceptions you can imagine, they are contributing to make these Olympic Games safe and secure, with their information exchange, and some of them are even deploying human resources for the Games. And the Israeli athletes, since 1972, they always have taken their own additional security measures, and so they did also this time. And they feel comfortable with this situation, as we know from the contact with them.
Yeah, gentleman there with the beard was very fast up. Can you put your hand up so they can see which one I mean? Because there's about 10. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Robert Kemper, German TV. Mr. Bach, one question. The Palestinian NOC, you spoke about Israel, requested again a ban of Israel from the Olympic Games. Could you explain in your point of view, since the NOC of Palestine is so-called part of the so-called Olympic family, how does it fit to the message of peace you constantly wanted to send from these games? And the second question, in the last weeks or months, you were attacked or were in the center of attacks coming from Russia. Could you explain at the moment, is there any contact between the IOC and Russian authorities, sports authorities, because they were not only coming from political side, also from the sports side of Russia, and how would you describe the relationship between the IOC and Russia at the moment?
The second part I can answer with one word, no. There is no contact with the Russian authorities on these issues. The other question with regard to some requests for the exclusion of the NOC of Israel. The position of the IOC is very clear. We have two national Olympic committees, so that's the difference with the world of politics, and that in this respect both have been living in peaceful coexistence, and the Olympic Games are a competition not between countries. There are competitions between athletes being delegated by the national Olympic committees. So if we would enter there into the political discussion with regard to wars and conflict on the opening ceremony on Friday, then we may be in the end with 100 NOCs and not with 206 NOCs, given the way too many wars and conflicts there in the world. If we would there violate our political neutrality, and from this fact that the Olympic Games are not a competition between countries exactly, and governments, but among athletes, the Palestinian NOC has greatly benefited because Palestine is not a recognized member state of the United Nations, but the NOC of Palestine is a recognized National Olympic Committee enjoying the equal rights and opportunities as like all the other National Olympic committees.
Okay, yeah, gentlemen, just here, and then the two people, yeah, just there, and then we'll come forward to Bukako after that.
Tom Klees from ARD in Germany. What is the IOC's and especially your position on the fact that the Dutch NOC has selected an athlete who has been convicted of raping a minor? And do you see there any contradiction to the principle that Olympic athletes serve as role models? And the second question, you stated it in your speech at the beginning, these Olympic Games are taking place in times of war and conflicts, which are directly influencing the Olympic Games. I mean, we just have to look at the safety measures, and especially for the Israeli delegation. From your point of view, how politically charged will these games be, and is that worrying you? Thank you.
With regard to the first question, this is an issue for the Dutch NOC to decide. I cannot have a personal position on this. The procedures are like this. Every NOC has to take the decision on their own and to justify their decision on their own. with regard to the geopolitical situation and the impact on these Olympic Games. I think the more people try to politicize the games and the higher the tensions are, the more important is the message of the games to try to unite and not to contribute to even more division. This one interested party or the other, one government or the other may not like, but this is their issue. We are not there in the political business. We are there to accomplish our mission, to get the athletes together and to welcome all the athletes who are respecting the rules, and then to have a peaceful competition. And this is exactly, one of the reason, if you want, why I was so touched by this call for peace by the athletes, because you had the athletes from the NOCs whose countries are at war with each other. And this shows, that this mission, this value is not just something up in the clouds, but that this is something the athletes are feeling themselves, and that this is a message the athletes want to convey themselves, what they did in such an impressive way there yesterday.
And I should just say there is a very detailed statement from Dutch NOC online, which you can look at, which details the safeguarding measures and so on. But I think it's definitely, as the President said, a question for them. Okay, we're going to go to Wakako Yuki here in the front, and then two gentlemen here. Yeah. Yep, just over here, quickly. Thank you. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wakako Yuki from Yomiuri Shimbun, President. Hello. Today's historic move to create Olympic Esport Games, I understand you had strong leadership behind it, and today IOC, you have opened up Olympic movement. It's fair to somehow those competitions which has once seen as a rather completely different in nature. What is the significance and necessity to have today's decision? What is the influence that you hope to for that inclusion to give to the Olympic movement in the future? Also, if I may, the change of Olympic Charter in relation to the presidency. Mr. Coates today hinted the circulation resolution, circulation resolution, sorry, and just in time for next year's session. Would you be giving members a floor to discuss the matter, or would it be more to the approval of the ECU? Thank you.
The second question is a good try. You know very well the recommendation, for not to say the instruction of the Ethics Commission that I should not comment on this and not give rise to any kind of speculation. So I better keep my mouth shut before I'm ending up in front of the IOC Ethics Commission. With regard to the first question, the purpose of this opening up is to adapt to the new digital world. You know, the world is changing, and we are living a digital revolution. This is why it is no coincidence that today we had the two topics which will determine for our remit for sport the future of sport, or co-determining. That is artificial intelligence, and that is esports and e-games. We see there a growing community among the young generation, and we have been accompanying this change since 2017 with our esports forum. So we have done it step by step because I think, you know, we in the IOC we had to learn a lot, but also the esports community had to learn a lot until we could find some common ground. When we had this first forum, you know, we were extremely surprised that the esports community used this forum less than to speak with us, but to get to know themselves. They had no idea about themselves. So the publishers were meeting for the first time. The players were meeting, or gamers were meeting for the first time. So this was step one, and so it went step by step. And then we had this very successful Olympic Esports Week in Singapore, and we saw the ever-growing interest by the publishers, and we saw the ever-growing interest by the gamers, and this is then when we took the opportunity to drive things forward, and thanks to the excellent work of David Lapierre and his team, we can be here today. It is clearly a milestone because we are entering new ground, but we are entering this new ground on a very firm base, and this firm base are our values. And this firm base is the Olympic Charter. There you have seen today the creation of the esports games, but not a single amendment to the Olympic Charter in this respect. And this is, in the meantime, they're also respected by the esports community, and this will determine all our further decisions and proceedings.
Okay, two more questions here. Gentleman there and the gentleman in the light blue shirt, and I'm going to come across. Yeah.
Ian Axon from Reuters. I think that the Athletics Integrity Unit have provisionally suspended a Polish high jumper today for a doping offence. Mark, I don't know if you have any more details on that.
I don't, but our media team will. I'm looking across at them. I don't think we've received anything yet, but you can certainly put the question to me, and we'll follow up.
A question for Mr. Bach as well.
Yeah.
When you hear that kind of news, how does it make you feel?
As how?
How does it make you feel when you hear that an athlete has been suspended for a doping offence?
It's good to keep the cheaters out of the games.
Thank you. Let's take the chap there with a light blue shirt. Yeah. And then we're going to move across.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams. I'd like to turn back to esports and this historic announcement of the creation of the first Olympic esports games next year in Saudi Arabia. I'd like to ask a bit about the future of it. Last year at the Hangzhou Asian Games, esports debuted as a medal event. The IOC has certainly recognized the growing popularity, as you just touched on, the the esports week and series last year. But going forward, do you see the future of esports being in its own separate competition, such as the Olympic Esports Games? Do you envision a time when it could be part of the games that we're about to start this Friday? Do you see it coming into being a medal event within the mainstream games, or is it perhaps its place on the outside somewhat?
No, thank you very much for this the question. It's indeed an extremely interesting one, which we have been discussing the back and forth over a number of years already. And there were and are different models that have been under discussion. I think what we did exclude at the very beginning was a complete merger of the two because we have to manage the size of the Olympic Games. And if you there would add another 2,000 gamers to this and all the entourage, we would demand too much then from host cities for the games. What was under discussion was whether one or the other, the virtual sport, could be a discipline of the traditional sport. So for our friend David Lapatien, whether he could have an e-version of cycling then also in the program of the games, because there let's say the physical demands are more or less the same than for the ones in the traditional disciplines. But then when it was ever growing, we came then to the conclusion that a total separation of the two events would serve the purpose the best. Otherwise, it could be very confusing, even for the virtual sports. Who would then delegate the athletes? Many NOCs do not have any relations with esports yet. It may come, or it will come now with the esports games. But there is no real national governments in place so far. These are other federations or other organizations and so on. So it's, let's say, for very pragmatic reasons then that we said, okay, we make it they're separate, totally separate organizations, and also to appease our traditional stakeholders so that they are not getting afraid that their share in the games is becoming smaller because of them and the cost of the games higher. So this is why such a standalone event, I think, is at least for the foreseeable future the best approach. We have heard today an interesting proposal from the chair of our program commission, Karl Stoß, who said we may consider some engagement during the youth Olympic Games. Remains to be seen whether this must be competition or just engagement. But in principle, it's a very good idea, because most of these youngsters, they are not only athletes. In their leisure time, you see them. They're playing games all the time, so it could somehow be complementary. But again, I cannot see it there as a full medal event at this moment.
Okay, we've got time for three quick more questions. Gentleman there's been waiting since the beginning, Mark von Tuyak, and gentleman down here, with apologies to everyone. Sorry.
Merci Marc. Bonsoir, Bruno Fraioli de sportbusiness.club. Il y a eu effectivement deux virages importants, deux volets importants aujourd'hui avec l'e-sport, mais également avec, vous l'avez dit, l'intelligence artificielle. Président, craignez-vous justement les conséquences de l'intelligence artificielle sur le mouvement olympique? Mais avant cela, j'ai une autre question plus courte. Est-ce que vous regardez la météo pour vendredi soir? Merci.
With regard to artificial intelligence, I have no worries about the impact of artificial intelligence on sport. It's just the contrary. I see huge opportunities, and this for one very particular reason. Many other areas of society, media, script writers, singers, writers, they have to face the ultimate ethical question. Will AI replace me? Will I still have a role? And this ultimate ethical question in sport we have not to face, because the 100 meters will always have to be run by an athlete. And therefore we can concentrate there in all our efforts on the benefits of AI and how AI can contribute to sport. How AI can contribute to safeguarding, coaching, talent identification, fairer refereeing, better and immersive spectator experience, and. There are endless opportunities, and if you have heard from our experts today, they have already now identified 180 different potential projects how we could benefit from AI. And if you look at the pace of the development of AI, I think when you ask them in 3 months, it will not be 180, it will be 300 or 250 at least. And we want to keep up with this pace of development. We want to stay ahead of the curve, again, in order to protect our values, or as I said yesterday in my opening speech to the session, to protect human dignity, to protect the dignity of the athletes and of the competitions, and for not being in a situation where other interests, just purely commercial or purely technological interests, are changing then sport. And this is why we are so happy that so many of our partners are engaging with us, are assisting us, and are sharing this approach to AI with us.
Weather forecast, President? Okay, Mark Bontuillac, and then last question down here. Please, just one. No, just here. Just one question, Mark.
Oui, donc bonjour, Marc Ventouillac, comme il vient de le dire, du journal de l'équipe. Deux petites questions, une pour vous, une pour David. La première, je rebondis sur ce qui a été posé tout à l'heure, une question sur la question d'Israël et de la Palestine. Je connais un peu la réponse, mais vous n'avez pas répondu formellement à la question posée par les comités olympiques palestiniens et iraniens qui demandent la suspension d'Israël. J'imagine que la réponse est non. Et qu'est-ce que vous leur répondez lorsqu'ils disent que des bombardements pendant la trêve olympique, c'est équivalent à ce qu'a fait la Russie. Et la deuxième question, je ne vous demanderai pas si, comme pour Sébastien Coe, vous pensez que David Lapartien ferait un bon successeur, parce que je suis certain que vous allez répondre oui. Mais je voudrais demander à David ce qu'il pense des déclarations du président Barr, comme quoi demain il y aura un vote sous condition concernant les Jeux Olympiques d'hiver 2030.
Ça fait 3 questions. Mais merci.
Non, il sait que la deuxième, je ne vais pas y répondre, alors ce sont 2 questions. There, you know, the situation between Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Palestine is not comparable. You may remember that the suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee is based on the fact that the Russian Olympic Committee annexed sports organizations on the territory of the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine, meaning claiming authority over athletes in the Donbas region, for example. And there, such a violation by an NOC does not exist between the 2 NOCs of Palestine and Israel, and this has also been confirmed by the Court of Arbitration for Sport when the CAS rejected the appeal of the Russian Olympic Committee against its suspension. And there I can quote, you know, the ROC's, means the Russian Olympic Committee's references to the conflicts over the territory of Kashmir, the conflicts over the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, and the conflicts in Palestine are misplaced, as these situations differ significantly from the present case. You cannot say it more clear. And to the question with the successor, why don't you ask him directly?
David, à vous.
Yes, I will answer, if you agree, Mark, in English, because I can feel that there are more English speakers here in the room. Normally I was supposed to be here in my capacity of Esports Commission Chair and not as the President of the French NOC, but in fact you have the President to the President of the French NOC. It's true, as it has been mentioned by our President, that tomorrow morning we'll make the full presentation of our bid to host the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympic Games in 2030, and we are proud about this. Of course, you saw the statement from the Executive Board of the International Olympic Committee from the 12th of June, and there were it was a clear recommendation to the session to award the Olympic Games to France, to the French Alps, under 2 conditions. One was to provide the state guarantees, and the other one was to formalize also the engagement from the regions that were formalized to the President Macron, to the government, but not directly to the IOC. So the second one, we clearly answer this requirement from the IOC. So the letters has been sent to the IOC. For the first one, as it has been mentioned by our President, of course, the political situation and the constitutional situation in France does not allow formally to have the guarantee in itself. But of course, if tomorrow we have this on the agenda, it's because there were some moves in between the 12th of June and tomorrow. And tomorrow, I'm sure you will be at the session and you will look and you will have more answers on this. But what I can just tell you is that, of course, we still have the full support from the President of the French Republic and from the government. And even if there is not a majority in the Parliament, there is a strong majority behind the Games.
Thank you,
And if we would not feel this, then there would be no vote tomorrow.
Okay, final one quick question down here. Yeah, and then we're done. Thank you.
Rob Livingstone, Gamesbids.com. There's a U.S. website they're publishing at paris2024.com. They're using data from your website. They're posting negative information about your top sponsors, and they're also promising to offer live streaming to spectators in venues, bypassing whatever safeguards you have in place. I believe you've dealt with this company before and had a settlement over other domains in 2017. So I'm just wondering, are you planning to do anything about this? And what are you doing to protect your IP, your trademarks, and so forth moving forward in these issues? Thank you.
I have no idea about this concrete case, but we have in our legal department a big IP sub-department, and I'm sure that these guys will on it, and that they will not make the life of these people easy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President. Thank you, David. There will be a French Alps 2030 press conference tomorrow, it won't surprise you to know, and a Salt Lake City, Utah 2034 presentation tomorrow. There won't be a specific IOC press conference, though. So thank you very much, everybody, and see you very soon.
Enjoy the games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You take it with you?
Yeah.